Okay, so here's the engine out the car, the one that was in it when I took it apart. I've degreased it on the most part, which is pretty essential. It's stupid trying to work on an engine that's dirty. So first step is always to try and clean it. Means you can actually do something with it in a controlled way and without getting dirt into all the parts. I'm quite sure it'll need some more cleaning as I go along. Now, the thing with this engine is it turns over, but I seem to recall it was a bit seized when the car was standing, and I know I sort of got it turning over, but I don't know what damage might have been done to the bores, what condition the piston rings are in, and so forth. It could be that this motor is pretty much scrap, but there's only one way to find out, and that is to take the heads off and actually have a look at and see what's going on down inside the cylinders, see what the pistons are like, and see what can be done. So that's the next stage for this motor. It's a relatively simple thing to do. It's a push rod motor, so let's see how we get on. Okay, let's see how well this cylinder head will come off. See, it's a little bit rusty. I've got a broken off stud on this side, and I doubt this one's in very good condition. But I don't know whether I'm using these heads. Those heads are worse for the studs, and they will need removing. Well, I'd say that's definitely got oil in it. There are 3 studs to hold the cylinder heads on, and the barrels in fact. And there are, you can see here, you can see them, the top 2 extending down here, and there are these which also hold the rockers on, and the 3rd is down here. Now we had a 12 for the cover. I think these are also 12. Ooh, a 6 it would appear, and I don't have a 6. Okay, so that was on really very tight, and required a little bit more force to actually free it. I still need to get a 6mm spanner. So the washer, it's like brass, goes on with the nuts, and the two spring washers here go with this. So go with the screw. And the push rod with the larger end inwards. These will get bagged up together so that they don't get mixed up and separated. Now this one has got a washer under the nut. Under the screw, actually. Yeah, the other one did, it just came off with it. Must be a very tight oil seal because these are rusty on the threads. So there's two wavy washers on this side and the sleeve on the nut side. Once again, push rod. That side down. Fat side into the engine. Okay, now we have an oil line that I need to remove. A little bit rusted. Again, 12mm. That's a little bit smaller than that, 12mm at that fitting. Okay, the whole line will probably should need to come off. careful of the fins because they will break off. The thing that seems to be breaking up at the moment is the exhaust gasket. After considerable time spent trying to free this off, the head is quite badly corroded onto the cylinder and it wasn't shifting. I could get it to wobble very slightly, but that was all. So I have resorted to removing the studs. Now I loosened these two, but they're still in place. This one, which was the problem, there was movement on this side, nothing on this side. But now I've using penetrating oil into this, because I think the problem partly was this corroded into the head. I've now actually got the whole unit moving, barrel and cylinder head. And yeah, I've got quite a lot of corrosion here, and I think that's a large part of the problem in getting these out, because the barrel, you can see, is now free of the piston and the piston rings, but it still doesn't want to come off. At this rate I may end up putting it back on in order to take these studs out. So I did loosen it. I only hope my other engines are better condition than this. Ooh, I see rust in the bore. But aside from that, they don't look, well, aside from the rust, they don't look too bad. Alright, let's have a look. Right, so here we are. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of flaky rust sitting on the cylinder walls, and the valves are quite corroded. The major problem seems to be just there at the bottom, which would have been the down side of the cylinder as we're sitting here. So the exhaust and intake sit at the top, and it looks like we had a little puddle of water, and all these flakes of rust that are currently loose in the barrel have come from that. So I'm guessing that even if this head was worth doing anything with, the valves will need to come out and be looked at. So, though I'm not quite sure how I'm ever going to get these apart. Anyway, so that's that. Now, the piston. Well, here we see evidence of the rust. Again, I'm having focusing difficulties. Maybe it's time I got a camera or a better phone or a new phone. The actual piston rings seem to be completely stuck in their grooves. Oil ring, scraper ring is okay, it's quite free, a little bit dirty, but the piston rings, as you can see here, are just stuck. And I'm guessing if I were to look underneath, that would be because of rust holding them in place. Some light skirt marks on there, but otherwise the barrel itself looks in far better condition than I was expecting. So I guess it depends on just A, whether or not I can actually get this head off the barrel, and then B, if just what condition the top end of that barrel is in. Well, I guess we're going to find out. Separating these heads from these cylinder barrels is not going to be easy. Even on this side, removing these studs from the heads wasn't easy. The section where it had gone through was just corroded in with aluminium. The problem with this engine is that it sits in the car like this, and in a 2CV, which it was designed for, this finned area is all shrouded in tinware, which ducts air from the fan which sits here and cools the engine. Now, it's actually much more efficient than leaving them exposed like this. This system leads to issues with heat and with seizing up and so forth, which you just don't get with the standard factory setup. Of course, we take the tinware off to make it look good. But in the car, you've got this tinware in there. The engine's probably a little bit oily because the breather's probably not working properly, so there's a light coating of oil over it. And then you've got the bodywork of the car covering it up. So these don't really get wet too much. They'll get a bit of water coming in and around them when you're running the car in the wet. But otherwise, it's, that's all you're going to get. With this, it just has a little bit of bonnet, which tends to protect the centre part of the engine a little bit. These stick out in the rain, and this car is sat outside in the rain. And what's happened is you've got an alloy head and a steel barrel, and there's just been corrosion between the two, that white powdery galling that you get. And it's just seized in there, and that's what's happening with this cylinder. And this cylinder head is quite firmly attached to the barrel. I've tried soaking it overnight, I've tried heat. Nothing at the moment is wanting to shift these, so I think for now I'm going to park these until I can find a better solution. Because although I think it might be the case that these might actually be serviceable if you could get them apart. The barrels might be okay, the pistons might be okay, but impossible to tell just at the moment. And I'm not bothering to take the pistons out until I can get both of these apart. One slight problem I have got at the moment with this one is in this head here, the spark plug came apart, so just the actual the nut part and the inner porcelain part has come out, leaving the rest of the plug in the actual plug hole, so that needs to be removed. Again, it's suffering from being corroded in there, which is why the plug has come apart. So I think what I'm going to do is put these back, the heads back on this, or the actual rocker cover back over this, and put this back on the engine here, and pull out the other engine, which was always the engine I was intending to use, but it would have been nice to use this one. There are some bits that need to come off this engine, such as the oil cooler modification here, but I can do that at a later stage. So let's go and see what the other engine looks like, and that'll probably be in the next video.